Divorce is the worst thing you'll ever go through in your life. You do all this stuff correctly, which is very hard to do in the first place, and not have them respond.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe the small, in that case, sure. But for the 99% of people, the problem is you.
That's why, right? Some people don't understand why you say it's the worst thing.
If you got married lightly, if you're just living separate lives, if that's how you were, if you never put in the effort, then divorce isn't going to seem so severe to you.
Well, or if you're being abused, your vow.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to let people off easy. I think that's the big thing.
I don't want to either.
Yeah, it's like you've got to like really well. And the other thing about this too is to understand that like, look, you better be damn sure because I've said it before on the podcast, but divorce is the worst thing you'll ever go through in your life. It should be for most people. I know people are like, no, it's not. Like, yeah, but you weren't really in it, but it is. It's the worst thing that you're going to go through, worse than death. So if you want to go through that, then you better be damn sure that it's worth going through that because, which again, that's where I'm like, okay, it's probably going to be an abusive situation, or it could be the situation like you're talking about where, but see, the situation you're talking about,
I feel like it is rare.
It will never happen. And I'll tell you why it will never happen is because you're not going to get up there and assuming that you made the commitment in some kind of a sound mind, you know what I mean? And make a commitment to someone that you believe that you're going to love forever. And then you do all this stuff correctly, which is very hard to do in the first place, and not have them respond. Right?
I agree.
Yeah, maybe the small, in that case, sure. But for the 99% of people, the problem is you. It's not them. Like yes, there might be two co-conspirators in the problem, but you fixing yourself will fix the problem or make at least a lot of progress, and you will see some kind of response. There is some kind of hope, and that's the thing is that people give up too easy because they don't know that.
Which
they
I don't
understand.
think people should give up too easy. And like I said, I can see where maybe with other people in a relationship that doesn't have as deep of intimacy and they don't want to be around each other 24/7 like we do. Like I can see where maybe they would wait longer. But like you said, at the same time, it's like, as long as you're putting everything you have into it to try to fix things and be the best version of yourself and treat them with respect and love, I agree with you that I can't see that not working.
Right.
And then also, if it doesn't work, then I feel like you also get this clarity of like, okay, that I can't do this. I've given my all. There's nothing more I can give.
Yeah.
And so, this is how it has to be. Because I think and it's mostly women that are like, no, divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me. I think that they didn't really try as hard as they could. And I think that the men didn't try as hard as they could.
Right.
And they probably were in a really crappy situation where divorce seemed like the better option. And it has to get really bad for divorce to seem like the better option.
If you try as hard as you can, divorce will be the worst thing that ever happens to you. I think that's
because you gave it your all.
Right. Because you put so much in.
Right.
And then
you tried so hard.
Right. And then you have to cut those losses at that point. And that's
right. Well, and maybe that's why, right? Some people don't understand why you say it's the worst thing.
If you got married lightly, if you're just living separate lives, if that's how you were if you never put in the effort, then divorce isn't going to seem so severe to you.
Well, or if you're being abused, like you said, which is an option.
Yeah.
Like
even in those cases, it still is going to be severe, right? Now you've got to deal with someone who's abused you, and you're,
right.
But yeah, I think it does come down to like you said, it's difficult. It's a complicated issue, right? Because again, the other thing I was going to say is like there are commitments that I will break, right? Like, even if I entered a business deal with someone and then I agreed to do this thing, but then they turned out to like, they were deceptive, right? Even though I signed a thing, or they turned out to be just impossible to work with. Yeah. I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah. I'm a liar then. Fine. You know what I mean? Like it's going to take a lot in order for me to be willing to sacrifice that integrity in that case. But there are circumstances, right? And I think that you do have to, as a man especially, have that I'm willing to walk away if I'm mistreated. But again, when you start to get into that mistreated area, that's where you start to get actually into the emotional or physical abuse, right? Because depending on the severity of the mistreatment. But if someone continually mistreats you and neglects you, that is emotional abuse, right? And I think that's the circumstance. We're kind of dancing back and forth around it. But I think it does, in order for that to occur, it does equate to, at that point, emotional abuse. Because if you're working on it and you're trying to help this person and you're trying to fix things and they're not responding and they're giving you the cold shoulder and they're neglecting you and they're not trying to work on the relationship at all and they had married you and agreed to these things, I don't see how that's not emotional abuse at that point. So.